Then
You sound ridiculous when you say that.
why has China been excluded?
Well, there's a variety of reasons. One is we're actively negotiating with China on a trade deal.
Right.
It's complicated because they're an enormous trading partner, and so it is complicated. So we can't just cut China off. Well, I'd like to. It would be nice.
But wouldn't you be able to strike?
Right.
No, hang on, just a minute. Now you contradicted yourself. Wouldn't you be able to strike a better balance if you actually slapped 145% sanction and made China shake and quake and say, oh my God, this is not in our interest, so let's come to the table?
And they did. They did slap 145%.
And then what happened? Then you pulled it out.
Yeah, congratulations are in order. Navarro's successor has been found on this panel, and it is Mr. Svensson. Absolutely no scruples whatsoever when it comes to double standards. He is, just basically wrapped around, I don't know what. It's not just the fact that China showed them the mirror and got the tariffs reduced from 145% to 35%. He himself said it right now. We are using it as a leverage for negotiations. Then why have you imposed tariffs only on India when you are still negotiating also with India for a trade deal? You cannot have double standards, Mr. Svensson. Just be open with it.
So let's have an honest conversation. Greg Svensson, chairman of the Republicans Overseas UK and Republican strategist, is here with us. Mr. Svensson, China is not a friend of the United States. You just have to hear Trump in term one and Trump in the campaign trail and Trump about Quad, and you know what he means. But today, Trump is treating China like a best friend forever. And the Russians, you heard Navarro, I mean, come on, he says. Well, I'm sorry to say, but President Trump almost carries Putin's poop bag around. I mean, that's what it looked like. Red carpet and jets and, 21 gun salute. So it's okay for America to hobnob with poop bag carrying Putin. But it's not okay if India sort of exercises its strategic autonomy. What's going on here? I'm very confused. Maybe, and Indian viewers are too, and our nationalist hackles, at least some of theirs, are pretty raised. So explain to us why we are wrong and why it's Modi's war and not Xi's war and not Putin's war and not Biden's war.
Well, I think this gets to a few things. One is that President Trump is looking for any way to stop this war. He's an anti-war president. He's settled 5 or 6 conflicts around the world already in just 7 months. So, I think you're always going to see him use any angle to try to get to peace. And in this case, he's being diplomatic, right? We are stuck with China. We have our criticisms of China. They are an adversary, that's for sure. But at the same time, we are dependent on them for some items like rare earth minerals, for example. And so that's just reality. So this is President Trump trying to be diplomatic. He doesn't kiss up to dictators. He negotiates with them. He exchanges he uses diplomacy, and that's what he's doing.
Are we
here.
on the same planet here, sir? I mean,
yeah,
what was he doing
absolutely.
with Kim Jong-un?
Yeah, look, he has nuclear weapons. He has to be dealt with. We can't just ignore.
So he was going to have dinner with him and deal with him? What was happening there? Was he going to talk him out of his weapons?
It's important for leaders to engage with adversaries as well as with friends. And so we can't just ignore that. This is why Kennedy had a hotline to the Soviet leaders when he was president. This is going back 60 years plus. So this is not unusual for leaders. And you mentioned Joe Biden. Yes, in fact, he did encourage India and everybody else to buy Russian oil because he was attacking the U.S. energy industry. That elevated oil and, more importantly, gasoline prices. So he did whatever he could to get more production around the world. It was shameless because he was hostile to his own energy industry. And so that was just another outcome of a really flawed Biden administration.
Okay, so when Trump is being transactional, it's diplomacy.
That's right.
When India is being pragmatic and altruistic, it's a sellout. It's a betrayal. I mean, look, I know a lot of us have drunk the Kool-Aid that Trump has sort of spread around the world, but come on. I mean, are we infirm in the mind? I mean, this is not kind of sounding
Look,
Okay.
he's also critical of the Europeans who are
All right.
friends and our
And
allies, as well
what's
as
the
India.
what's the sanction on Europe for doing
Yes.
more business than India does with Russia?
Oh, he slapped 50% tariffs on
I'm
the
asking
EU,
you, sir, what is
and
the
then they came.
sanction, the secondary sanction on Europe? We're not talking about tariffs here. We're talking about secondary sanctions. Navarro is not talking about tariffs. He's talking about secondary sanctions. Can you give me that number?
No, I can't because they haven't done it. But
They haven't done it.
important that there's been plenty of criticism.
Why haven't
So
they done
easy
it?
to catch
So why haven't they
about-
done it, sir? Why haven't they done it?
Because it's not apples and apples. It's
Oh.
a different situation. And so
I
look,
see.
I think we reach out to our friends,
Right.
including India, to execute any strategy that we think is possible to stop the war in Ukraine and funding the Russian war. Biden was funding both
But your
sides.
friends
of
are the
war.
Europeans, your bosom buddies, your transatlantic buddies are the Europeans, and they are funding Putin's war. Those
Yeah, I wouldn't call
entire
them
bunch of
bosom buddies.
schoolboys and schoolgirls who sat in front of Trump in the Oval Office and took dictation are the guys who are actually foisting dictatorships. They're not
Yeah,
just funding, hang on, they're not just funding,
Yeah.
by the way, sir, Putin, but they're also funding China. So China can buy more and more Russian oil. How does that work?
Yeah, look, I'm not happy about the trade deficits that
Okay,
they
so
have with
obviously
China.
Trump lacks what is known as
Completely.
moral. Clearly, viewers, he lacks something. He obviously lacks a degree of moral equanimity. It's quite clear. We can go after India, but I can't go after my blue-eyed folks in Europe. Because I mean,
Yeah.
come on, they're
So
made
you're
of a
trying to-
different.
are
They're
you
made of a
trying to bring
different. They're made of a
identity
different
politics
DNA.
into this?
It's okay.
Yeah,
No, I
look,
mean, I don't know, sir. I mean, many people are wondering. I don't know. Many people are wondering. Anyhow, let me open this up. Let me open this up because I mean, I'm not going to be defending a man who's absolutely racist. His first, if you remember, 2016, his first policy was to.
This is Trump
hang on.
derangement syndrome
Hang
gone
on.
wild.
2016.
As
No, it's not. It's a
usual,
fact. Am I
it's all
wrong?
about
When he
identity
passed
politics
when he
with you.
passed a bill saying that he's not going to allow immigration into the United States except Swedes and blonde people. These were his words,
Yeah.
not mine. What is that?
No, this
Racist
is-
or not?
This is classic Trump derangement syndrome. Look,
Oh, Trump derangement syndrome.
He had 7 countries on that
Congratulations,
list.
Rahul.
Four of which
This is
Barack
trailer
Obama
trash
had. You want to
speaking.
call Barack Obama a racist? Good luck with that.
Well, do I tell you what the Trump camp thinks of Barack Obama and the language they use to suggest that he was actually a Muslim and therefore ill-suited for office? These are facts, sir.
Yeah.
I'm telling you facts. This is not, there's no derangement. So hang on. Are we trying to suggest that the MAGA group, look, I know a little thing or two about Americans. It's not as if the MAGA group don't have racists. There are enough racists. And Trump has not exactly been goody two-shoes on that particular issue. You just have to ask a large number of Americans, and they're all not deranged. Anyhow, sir, let me just open this up. Let me get in Dr. Ranganathan, and then I also want to bring in respected foreign policy expert Brahma Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of Greg Swenson's defense of Mr. Trump?
No, it's quite embarrassing. And when you said, I'll tell you what, viewers, what Navarro was lacking, I'll tell you what Navarro was lacking. Navarro was lacking a journalist like you. Because I don't fault Navarro at all. The only thing lower than his credibility is intelligence. But had he got a journalist who was asking him questions and counter questions like you are of Mr. Swenson, you would have embarrassingly exposed him. Because what else, if not, must you go by first principles? State, hypocrisy is hypocrisy wherever you see it. You cannot cloak it in diplomacy or some are our friends, some are not our friends, and we are here to stop the war. What nonsense, I'm sorry to use this strong word, is one of your panelists speaking. When you have China buying more Russian energy, when you have Europe buying more Russian energy, when you have America buying Russian energy still, and no sanctions or ad valorem additional 25% tariffs imposed on them, but imposed on India. And this guy Navarro is saying this is Modi's war. And you have a strategist out here who was actually, before you exposed him, he was completely in Navarro's square. Until now, I think he's kind of embarrassed and now he's kind of shifting his positions a bit, which is good because he must. Always go by first principles. Sir, you are a strategist. You don't your allegiance to anybody else. So that's point number one. Point number two is it is not Modi's war. In fact, I don't even go by the fact that we went by what Americans told us 2 years ago to buy Russian oil to stabilize the oil prices. We were buying Russian oil because in the last 2 years, we have saved $26 billion. And that has gone into our welfare schemes and that has helped millions, hundreds of millions of Indians. If Trump can think of Americans first, why can't India or Modi think of Indians first? In fact, by buying Russian oil for the last 2 years, we have kept the inflation in check cumulatively by 1.47%. It is important for us. Inflation is at a 12-year low in India, which is unprecedented. So please preach to Trump about double standards. Don't come knocking at our door and telling us what to do and what is in our strategic interest.
Okay, so we're obviously very clear that we are not going to be dictated to. Our strategic autonomy matters to us very much. So let me now bring back Mr. Swenson. Mr. Swenson, let's elevate this a little bit more. If Trump's approach to global alliances, is it consistent in your view? You've said that, look, I mean, he's going to do what he wants to do, friend and foe alike, and it can be selective at some points in time, so deal with it. So I'm asking you, long term, will this outrage, selective outrage, undermine credibility? You already see the Dems coming out and passing some statements and comments. Do you believe this is consistent with a leader that sees to be, or a country that sees itself as the leader of the world?
Yeah, it's absolutely consistent. There's been flaws in the global trade system for the last 30 years. A lot of politicians have admitted that, but haven't done anything about it. So the president is, no doubt it's a realignment of the global trade system, but that's a good thing. And I think, and this isn't America first only, it's, America can work with allies, and even work with adversaries. I'm not happy about the dependence that we have on critical minerals from Russia and from China. That's not something we can fix overnight. That's going to take some time. So in the meantime, to make sure we have our security and we have these critical metals that we need for guided missile systems and fighter jets, that's important. It's something that will be fixed over time. But you keep referring to this.
So you're admitting that basically the Americans have lost the race to China. You're admitting that. I mean, that's the reason why they can't look China in the eye and say, look, we're going to go ahead with 145% tariffs. We're just going to walk around you, tiptoe around you because, well, we're scared of you. So you're admitting that.
Oh, no.
So it's basically might is right.
Not. No, I'm not. No, you're putting words in my mouth. I'm not admitting that at all. That's ridiculous.
But then
you sound ridiculous
then
when you say that.
why has China been excluded?
Well, there's a variety of reasons. One is we're actively negotiating with China on a trade deal.
Right.
It's complicated because they're an enormous trading partner, and so it is complicated. So we can't just cut China off. Well, I'd like to. It would be nice.
But wouldn't you be able to strike?
Right.
No, hang on, just a minute. Now you contradicted yourself. Wouldn't you be able to strike a better balance if you actually slapped 145% sanction and made China shake and quake and say, oh my God, this is not in our interest, so let's come to the table?
And they did. They did slap 145%.
And then what happened? Then you pulled it out.
China came to the table. And
because I'll tell you why, viewers. China said, we're cutting off your rare earths. Yeah. We're not going to give you a dime of rare earth.
That is true. That's probably one thing I can agree with you on.
Who carried the poop bag, viewers? Who's carrying the poop bag now? Think about that.
That's a nice way to elevate the conversation. But
we are very much elevating the conversation. I'm only asking you, what does that lead? Where does that leave? You said it doesn't affect America's credibility on the global stage when it picks its battles, when it's actually going out there and discriminating in a morally dissolute manner between friends and foes. So, okay, that's your point. You made it very clear. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan here.
Yeah, it's the most valuable consumer market in the world. So
I think
debatable. Let's see how time bears you out. Yeah, go ahead, Doctor.
I think with due respect, congratulations are in order. Navarro's successor has been found on this panel, and it is Mr. Swenson. Absolutely no scruples whatsoever when it comes to double standards. He is, just basically wrapped around, I don't know what. It's not just the fact that China showed them the mirror and got the tariffs reduced from 145% to 35%. He himself said it right now. We are using it as a leverage for negotiations. Then why have you imposed tariffs only on India when you are still negotiating also with India for a trade deal? You cannot have double standards, Mr. Swenson. Just be
I
out,
would
open
bet,
with it. Just
I
deal
would
with
bet
it.
we
The
can look
fact
back.
that you
I would
have
bet
no
we can look
scruples
back on this
whatsoever.
conversation.
You can be
I,
a hypocrite whenever you want to. Just accept it. And we would
I
value you
would
even more because
I
then
would not
you
be
would be saying
surprised
what
if
the
there's a
truth is.
great trade
Right
deal
now
with
you're saying,
India.
oh, well, we are morally upright. We have this moral high ground. And, you are sponsoring Putin's war. Please, just say that you have double standards and that is the way you deal with the world. That is the way you have dealt with the world after 1945. Just say it. Bring it out in the open. We
Yeah, what's
respect
the
you even more
problem?
then.
What's the problem? Say it.
Yeah.
What do you, I mean, this is obscene, right? I mean, America's been defending the West and defending our allies since World War II. And so,
But
this is
I
not
don't think
something
that's
that's
true
going to
because
change.
Trump says that for 4 years you were not defending
Yeah.
Ukraine or
We
your
had-
US or your EU allies. You actually were part of the problem. You foisted this war. You put Ukrainian lives and their fat in the fire. These are not my words. These are Trump's words. So tell me how that works.
Right. The president is arguing that by funding Russia, and I can criticize the Biden administration for this, the same thing. They were funding
You are
both
buying
sides of
Russian
the war.
energy right now.
We are in a position where we have to still buy critical minerals from Russia because there's nowhere else to get them except
US
China.
trade has increased by 20%. Putin admitted it. Is he
Yeah,
lying? Is Putin lying when he says ever since Trump came on, we've increased our trade by 20%?
Well, he's admitting it actually.
For the United States, it's a rounding error. Okay, so it's statistically.
It's a rounding error.
Insignificant. But what Russia is doing?
It's actually
Rounding error.
it's not a
their
rounding
war.
error. It's a confounding error. Let me tell you, Mr. Svensson, confounding
But
error.
would you doubt? Can we agree that Russia is funding this war by exporting oil? I mean, I think that's pretty clear.
And you are buying
But
it.
you are buying it.
We're not buying a lot of Russian oil. That's
We're buying a
obscene.
bit of
A
it.
lot.
The United States is the biggest. Is the
Why should you
largest
even?
oil
Why
producer
should you
in the
even
world.
buy one drop of it, sir? On principle,
I agree. I agree.
I
with
agree.
that. And
So
I didn't
America
like-
is equally complicit, but of course,
not
America
equally
and
complicit,
Trump.
yeah.
You see, viewers, look at what we're hearing.
You
Yes,
used
we're
the word
complicit.
equally.
We're doing business with Russia because it's in our interest. You see, we can't allow
Yeah,
our weapon
I don't-
systems to molder in some silo. So we've got to have trade with Russia. We've got to buy those precious metals. We also have to, by the way, do the same with China because, otherwise we'll be at their mercy and inflation in America will go through the roofs and, there's this, that, the other. But, America has a problem with India for doing exactly the same because somehow, it's Modi's war. Viewers, just think about this. It's not sounding right.